So we are driving to go to Aston Martin Palm Beach with an Aston Martin, by the way. And the reason is we want to look like we care for the brand to see if we can buy another Aston Martin. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. So we're about to find out. But what a beautiful day to be driving a very nice $500,000 convertible Aston. And it's our video guy Mark's first time feeling like he's very rich driving down the road. Eventually, you know, this rich thing rubs off on you. So you suddenly go home and you want to beat your wife and tell her that you deserve better, you know? So this happens very often to people. We hope it doesn't happen to him because I hear his wife drives a Tesla. So that by itself would be a reason to have a fight, you know? And look, by the way, they're building a new Ferrari building here, which is pretty cool. These guys are really fucking funny. I was talking about this in my podcast. These dudes are really funny because they literally are from Fort Lauderdale. And this is Palm Beach County. And there's another dealership called Ferrari Palm Beach in Palm Beach that's supposed to cover Boca. But these dudes basically got around that by saying one of their service centers is going to be in Boca, when it's clearly a fucking massive fucking dealership. They're really smart in a really fucked up way. You know, it's like your cousin fucking up their brother or sister just like and somehow stealing from them. It's like really weird. Here we are at McLaren, where they have an actual Aston Martin we're gonna take a look at. I needed an extra baby mobile now that I sold my Range Rover, so let's go in and check out what's going on. Oh, this one? Nah, it's kind of okay. It's a cheap V8. This is a Vanquish. This is what replaced the car I have outside. That's why it was stamped so much earlier than it was sold?
Yeah, because it came in with 3,000 miles.
Oh, okay.
The hood, mirror. On there it said mirror. We have had like 4 customers that are like all over this thing. The guy changed out and put carbon fiber mirror cover.
Caps, okay. Yeah. The Defenders. Can we drive it for a second? Is that okay? I think. Okay. It has presence, you know?
That's a lot of presence.
Right, for the color, yeah. You don't usually expect red Astons either, so they're good like wow factor cars, because it's like, red's a pretty color. It's like an Urus, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, this is the race model, this is the 707, so it's a race version of the same car, you know? But they sound decent, and they're good looking cars, you know? Astons, they do a good job, like they make very pretty cars.
Got the carbon option on this one.
Yeah, that was the main interest, is like the options, the extended carbon behind the seats and all that stuff. Yeah. All right, guys, so we just checked out DBX 707. I've always been impressed with the car itself. I don't know about this particular one. It seemed like it was kind of flimsy. You know, it's always important to drive cars because you get a vibe for the car yourself quite quickly. And that vibe allows you to then decide if you like the car or not. So I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to think about it today. I needed a baby mobile. I already have an RS6 coming. So I'll see if I really want to add a DBX versus a Range Rover. The real downfall of the DBX is it's still a flimsy sports SUV, which is kind of like not so much a real SUV as it pertains to protecting, like, you know, against weather or anything. So maybe the answer is the Defender Octa, maybe the answer is something different, but I just like Range Rovers because they're like large trucks and you don't have to pay as much attention when you use them. So it's easier to drive, it's like larger, it goes better in the rain. Some of these sport SUVs, they don't do as well once you start going through these angles, etc.
motherfuckers think we're like Top Gear on crack. They got 19 cameras in here and GoPros, and there's this poor dude hanging in the back of a BMW that's about to fall off without a harness. I think this is completely illegal. And then I'm staring at a camera, and if this camera falls on the floor, it's $5,000 for no reason at all. Like, why? Anyways, so this is the review for the Aston Martin DBX 707. In my opinion, it actually feels a little faster than the Urus Performante. It doesn't have the torquiness, but it has two things. It has a sports mode that's really annoying. We'll talk about that. It has much better sounding exhaust. It's very throaty, and it has a lot of power in the high gears. So even when you're on the highway at 100 miles an hour, and not that we do that because we're law-abiding citizens, but when you gun it, you get to 150 pretty fast without a lot of real, like tension. So that's a really good thing, and it's exciting. But there is so much good in this car, and there's so much bad about it. But it's not really how we're going to look at this review, because otherwise I'll be here all day bitching about everything that's wrong about it, because that's what I do. I find everything wrong with a car. But there's something else about this. It's not about how good or bad it is. It's about how much you're willing to forgive for how much you're getting. And I think that's so important to understand, because Astons are the most overrated, expensive cars ever. So they're incredibly expensive when they're brand new, and they're overrated as shit for the money. But when they're used, they are the most underrated cars for the money. So what does that tell us? It tells us that an Aston just doesn't deliver a $300,000 SUV that's worth 300 grand. But once this is 1 year old, like this is, and I want to be clear, 1 year old and 10,000 miles, and this car has depreciated more than 50% of its value while remaining under factory warranty. Like, think about this. This is a 2023, and it is depreciated 50% for less than 10,000 miles. That now becomes something you think of and you go, huh, is it really a good car? Like, but wait a minute, it's 50% of the cost of a similar year in mileage Lamborghini Performante. Urus Performante, that is. So the argument becomes, is the Urus Performante twice as good? And that's what we're going to really talk about today, because it's more about what you can forgive this car for not doing well because of the value you're getting once it hits that 50% off mark, and it becomes quite a bargain for what you get. So you get Urus Performante speed, you get better Urus Performante sound, and you get a car that, honestly, they've done a good job on the interior on now. You get a lot of carbon fibers. It's a full-loaded car, carbon doors, carbon back seats, carbon center console, like all the options, the extended leather package, the black optics package, that has everything. Like, it's a really nice spec car, and it's the Scorpion red on the outside, so it looks exciting. And, when you start thinking about that, you go, I don't know, like, would I spend twice as much for some of the stuff I don't like about it? So let's talk about what really is bizarre in this car. So we know Aston re-upgraded all this infotainment bullshit in 2024. But we're not reviewing a 2024. We're reviewing the value we get for a 22 to 24 before they updated in 25 when they launched the new DBX 707 with the new updated interface. The part that's really amazing in this, which I think just is really relevant here, we'll talk about the drive first, and then I'll show you the infotainment once we go to the actual office itself. So the actual drive, let's talk about the transmission, because I think that is one of the worst parts of this car. This car has multiple settings here, which you can go to in your screen. It'll go from terrain to individual to GT to Sport Plus. There's an exhaust button, which I highly urge you to use because it sounds much better with the exhaust. But one of the things with this particular button is you'll go to these different modes similar to DBX. Now, with the DBX versus the DBS, this is an SUV that's a sports car. So let's talk about how these modes change the car. This has paddles. I've complained about this in my DBS too. This transmission is an automatic, and it fucking sucks. It's fucking terrible in the city. It's amazing on the highway, it's terrible on the city. It struggles so hard to find what gear it should stay in because it's not a dual clutch transmission. And because it struggles to do that, it is so not smooth in nature in the way it showcases these different things. So like when you have, for example, this urge to drive in the city and have noise, you typically would go, I'm going to go to Sport Plus and enjoy that. And you end up not enjoying that because it just doesn't work out that way. Like the transmission is very, very jerky when it's in Sport Plus. So it's completely useless on the street in Sport Plus. That's why we have to keep leaving it either in normal or sport and activate the exhaust noise so you get the noise without the aggression of the car. Then the suspension is very rough. So we have to constantly deactivate it, even in Sport or Sport Plus, so that we get a slightly smoother ride, because the 23s do not ride as well as the Urus Performante. So regardless of this, the tires, I'm not a tire expert. I don't know what tires are on one versus the other. I think they're both Pirellis, but I could be wrong. But this particular car does not drive as well as an Urus Perf in the city. Not only that, but the transmission Urus Perf is much smarter and much more capable of creating a fun, spirited driving experience in the city on the highway while staying in one mode. And then to put the audio up, I have two buttons here. I have to literally tick, 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 or I have to go whoop, 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 whoop. Like, what the fuck? Who invents this shit? Like, I just want to know, the guy that invented this shit, when he came in the car and he was driving the car, was he the type of person that never got laid in his life and was like, I want to complicate things for every woman that told me to go fuck myself after I try to pick them up, and therefore I'm going to make it very complicated because most guys will buy this for their wives? I'm pretty sure that's what happened, and I'm pretty sure we're going to look up the name of the guy who engineered this car, and we can see if he's the type of dude that gets laid or is the type of dude that looks like a dude that thinks he's another dude that don't get laid. So we apparently found this fucking guy, and this fucking guy is the chief creative officer, and it says here, specifically designed, including a customized infotainment system. So now we got to look at him, and I want to know what he fucking looks like. See? Told you, he's a fucking white guy. He doesn't look like he gets laid. He probably hates his wife. So everything in this car feels flimsy and cheap, even with the extended carbon options, carbon paddles, carbon here. That looks nice. Everything else looks very cheap. So with the carbon options, you pay all this stuff. You pay like 20 grand in options. You get all this. But generally, again, at 300K, fuck no, like this ain't working, you know? So for me specifically, when I look at this car, it just doesn't work for 300 grand on any basis at all. Like it is the furthest thing from 300 grand you should be spending for, especially unless you want to burn money and lose 150 grand in 2 years or in a year driving this for 10,000 miles. It's insane. Like it doesn't make any sense. But then once it becomes used at 130 grand, well, it's a very different proposition. So now let's go to the office and let's talk about the car from the outside and why at 130 grand, I actually think, and I know this is pretty crazy sounding, is probably the best SUV you can buy. So now let's take a look at the DBX 707 I bought and why I specifically bought this car. Now, you may have seen me talk about this before because I previously was invited to drive this car when it first came out, and I was pretty impressed. I actually said very nice things about it. And one of the reasons this time I bought it was because I wanted to really review it by driving it for over a week. Now, what's really interesting though is that yes, I have to buy cars in order to review them because I'm not one of these cheap fucks that just borrows cars. I actually buy them, drive them. If I like them, I keep them. If I don't like them, I get rid of them. So let's talk about the car I bought because I thought colors made these cars more interesting. So this is a Scorpion Red Aston Martin, and it looks really nice. It has the black package, the black grille, the black badges, and it carries on, and it has some really expensive, nice upgrades. It comes with the 23-inch wheels, which are a must. The interior comes filled with carbon fiber everywhere, two-tone interior, including the carbon in the door that's extended, and this carbon continues all the way to the back and carries here and in the doors as well. And it's genuinely a nice car. It has the roof. The only thing it was really missing was the actual sound system. It doesn't have the $10,000 Bang & Olufsen, but everything else is pretty much there. And like I said, this is a high MSRP car. It even has the $8,000 mirror caps, which are not worth it, but still $8,000. So, you know, some really nice features in a very nice looking car. And it looks pretty good for a 10,000 mile car and for something that's that cheap. This always has been a great design feature, extended carbon spoiler. And then you have all of these little, you know, body kit parts, and it's just very, very good looking. And you can see that they've also done some things with the keys. Take a look at this. They've taken the old Aston key, which had the crystal, and made the rest of it cheap plastic and metal. And it has 3 little dots here, and it's almost as confusing as the car itself, which I'm going back to why the guy never got laid. Take a look at this key. It explains the car perfectly. You have 2 buttons and a 3rd button, but you have 2 signs here. Well, your eyes go to, I want to press these because this is a button. So to open the trunk, you have to press the button with the actual design. But to open or unlock the car, you have to press the other button in top or other. This isn't necessary. This is another thing where, like, it's just unnecessary. Like, why did you do this? Why didn't you just make 2 buttons and a 3rd one like the Urus does? Why do we need 2 different buttons, 2 different graphics, and then a 3rd button that acts differently? You see, it's not that this matters that much. It's that in a daily situation when you're in and out and using a car, this shouldn't be happening. It's just stupid. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't cost more or less. It's just poorly thought about. And these little things all over these cars just remind you of just that it's just someone forgot to think about someone else using this. And I think that I can understand why. I think when they made this car, they were so interested in trying to beat the Lamborghini Urus Performante that they just really focused on trying to make a car that's faster and a car that just gives you like that vibe and is like better value. And honestly, I don't think it is better value because 300K versus a new loaded Perf at 350, I take a Perf all day. But this at 130, would I indeed buy, or 150, 130, there'll be 130, there's some of them already 130. But if you're buying this like around 150, which is 50% of the Urus Perf used, here's the argument. Would you rather have 2 DBX 707s versus 1 Urus Perf, or what? Like, what really becomes that threshold where you say, I'd rather take this? So my opinion, for the money, I take this once it's used. As a car, I take an Urus Perf all day. So if your budget is under 150 grand and you want the same that an Urus Perf gets you, then with this, you'll be a little bit more annoyed. The interface will bother you. Your wife won't notice because she's never driven an Urus Perf, and it might work out just fine. But in this particular case, for me, as a daily, it's a fuck no. For me, as a value car, it's definitely something to consider. So I had originally bought this car in case I take my daughter around, because I always have a car that's my extra beater, in case I drive to Miami and it's like 50, 60 miles, and I don't want to put the mileage on something much nicer, and I want a car that I don't care if I leave on the side of the road, etc. I originally thought I would buy this, so I bought it, I wanted to drive it, and then I realized it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because I need a Range Rover, not because this doesn't work, and because this is too much of a sports SUV rather than kind of a chill SUV. But on that note, I think, again, we can forgive a lot for 130, 150 grand, but we can't forgive that much for 300. So this has been my review of the DBX 707. Hopefully, again, this gives you enough ammunition to know if you want one or not. If you want more reviews like this from a real owner's perspective, someone who spends quite a ton of time with the cars themselves, click the link, subscribe, and of course, turn on notifications. And don't forget, our Black Friday sale is live now, so if you want to learn why this car can actually be driven completely free, that's right, like completely free, meaning it doesn't have to cost you $1 to drive it for the duration of next year, then click the link below and join Exotic Car Hacks during the biggest sale of the year. And otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Take care.